Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. My name's Lynda Carroll, and thank you for giving me 5 minutes to say hello and let you know who I am. So I was born in Upper Hutt and grew up in Karori and went to Victoria University. So I haven't moved too far from home. I've lived here all my life apart from 7 years where I was overseas in Australia and up in Auckland. In terms of who I am from a career perspective, I started out my working life in the public sector and was lucky enough to be around at the time of the State Sector Act and public sector reform. And that gave me lots of opportunities that I don't think I would have otherwise had, from establishing a Crown entity, doing reviews of major organisations, and then giving myself the opportunity to work as a consultant in the space of change. So I've worked as a consultant for an international company for a number of years, for DDI out of Pittsburgh, and I led their New Zealand team, and then I established Carroll Consulting, which has been going for 20 years, and we align strategy, culture and performance, often in the area of change. So enough about the work. Me personally, what keeps me sane is singing, so I spend a lot of my time singing. I belong to 3 groups. Nota Bene, which is a chamber choir, and I was chair of Nota Bene for 5 years. I stepped down at the beginning of this year. I sing with Doubtful Sounds, which is a group that sings more popular music a cappella and is led by Brian Crump from Radio New Zealand, and the last group is a band called the Kilburnie Project. In addition to that, I make jewellery and love the opera, which was mentioned at our 5-minute speech last week, and love travelling, hiking and design. The thing that probably I spend a lot of time thinking about is the future of work and the impact that this has on our organisations as we're moving forward, and what it means in terms of our responsibility as employers in terms of creating the right environment for attracting young people to our organisations, and how do we retain them and how do we prepare them for the future, and how do we ensure that we meet the needs of multi-generational workplaces, which is, I think, another challenge. So I do reading about that. That's something that interests me. Finally, in terms of myself, I also have a background in governance. So I've got 17 years experience in governance, from chair of the Childcare Committee and Board of Trustees through to being on the board of the orchestra and leading NZIM. And I can see some of my fellow board members around the room, so that's lovely. In terms of how I might be able to assist with Rotary, I'm really interested in seeing the strategic plan. I really believe in what you do, and having been involved leading membership organisations, I'm really interested in seeing what your membership value proposition is, and understanding the demographics of Rotary a little bit more, seeing where there's gaps, whether we actually are hitting the mark for our 35 to 55-year-olds, and seeing how we can increase that membership if necessary. So that's me. Thank you.
Well, no pressure there. It's our plan. Okay, so we've changed the order a wee bit to give a little bit of time. It was very nice that we kept under time there, but I know that our next speaker likes to use all of his time and a bit more. And so that's why I changed the order around a bit. But it was also a strategic move, because this is a strategic planning session. And the more wine Stuart can get into you, the happier you're going to be with the strategic plan and willing to step forward and fill the role. So Stuart, the floor is yours.
Thank you. President Peter, guests and fellows, we'll get stuck straight into it. On your table is a yellow form, and there's also a smaller yellow sheet of paper if you need to take it away. The yellow form is actually where you register, or on the website, but it's actually easier to do it here, to go to the wine auction in the evening, and there's a lot of confusion. You need to understand very clearly that it's not a wine tasting evening. Now, I have Peter's permission to invite Rebecca, and there's a seat for you right here, Rebecca. Come and join in this. Yeah, Peter will need a lot of help. And the other person who's a bit of a wine buff in his own funny way, without too many people knowing it, is Lance. And we've invited Lance to come and join us. And Lance can sit right here too. And it's your job to help Peter make sure that his table wins the competition. Now, in front of you is a piece of paper which says do not remove until the sergeant session. So if you lift that up very carefully, and there's a little sample glass for each of you under that. Now, there's no compulsion to drink. You don't actually need to drink the wine to be an effective member. There's nothing to stop you drinking it, but if you're a teetotaler or you don't want to drink alcohol in the day or anything, that's fine. You do it. You actually do more evaluation of wine with your nose than with your mouth, but you start with your eyes. So have a little look at it. You really have to decide whether it's red or white, and then when you've made that momentous decision, you then sort of try and grade whatever it is you think. When you have a taste, I would suggest you actually try and throw it up into the back of your mouth, just with the tip of your tongue. We'll try and get it up into the back of your mouth, because you get a much more intense flavour there. Now, has everybody got one? There are a few spare ones around. Just you've got 8. Oh, aren't you lucky? I thought it was because you hadn't had a shower this morning. Now, I'll go through this thing. I mean, it's probably quickest, and I've got the message, if we just read through this, because you need to cover it all. What is it? What is it not? It's not a wine tasting, although tasting, of course, is part of it. What is it? It's a little sampler of what is involved in a wine options competition. It has only one wine, but there will be 9 or so on the evening. It is a competition to identify the answers to questions about wine, and if you don't know the answers, to hazard a guess as to the correct answer from 4 options. One of those options is right, 3 of those options are wrong. It is educational, and you'll be well rewarded if you have taken notice of the lessons on wine appreciation which have been delivered at the lunches over the last few weeks. Not just today, but for the rest of your life. Okay? How does it work? Your team, which is your table, decides a team answer to the question about the wine which is in the sample glass on your table. Look at it, smell it, taste it. And question 1 is, the grape variety is commonly called Chardonnay, Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Gris. Now, it's got to be one of those. Your table, and if you're really competitive, you don't let the other tables know what your table is deciding. You think you've got it right and they'll get it wrong, but your table has to decide what it is, right? We're operating today on an honesty scoring. Now, we can never do that at the main wine options competition because they all do their best to get points they don't deserve. But this is an honesty system. You must, as a team, agree your answer. If your team gets it right, you get 5 points. If you get it wrong, you get 2 points. Now, somebody at your table has to be nominated as the scorekeeper. Okay? Okay, folks, we have to keep moving. So you're the one who's taking the time now, not me. Okay, has every team decided its answer? Yeah, any no's? Okay, well, the correct answer is, of course, Chardonnay. Now, don't forget, give yourself 5 points or 2 points as appropriate. Right, now the sunshine box bit. Listen carefully, please. Listen carefully, all right? If your team answer is wrong, and all the members pay into the sunshine box. All right, can I hear the clinks? All right? So everybody had it right, I take it. If you had the right answer, but your team out-voted you for the wrong answer, then all the others in your team pay again, but you don't. Okay? If you were wrong and the members in your team outvoted you and talked you into the right answer, then you really should pay. Okay? Now, everyone pays somewhere along that, unless, of course, you were right and your team was right, in which case you get off scot-free. Now, on the night, Grant Urridge is the sergeant, and he goes around dealing with the troublemakers. And he's helping out today by topping up your glasses if you need it. But there isn't much more, so don't all expect to get a second one. Okay? So we've all done on question 1. You get off scot-free if your team was right and you were right. Otherwise, you've got to pay. Okay, all done, ready for question 2. Now, this wine comes from Germany, from France, from Australia, or from New Zealand. You decide your team answer. Okay, folks, have you all got your team answer? Is there any team that hasn't got their answer? Right, the answer is New Zealand. Okay, now just by a show of hands, how many teams have got 10 points?
All of them.
No, how many teams?
Is it the truth?
Okay, now the sunshine bit again. If you got the answer wrong, pay. If your team got it wrong, pay. If you got it right, but you couldn't talk your team into it, maybe you should pay again. If you were wrong and the members of your team outvoted you for the right answer, though, you really should pay. So if you were backing the wrong horse, okay? So away we go. Are we all ready for question number 3? Okay, question number 3 is, how old is this wine? Okay, now it's a good range there. If you'd read up your Chardonnay instructions, you shouldn't have any trouble working it out. Who studied the Chardonnay instruction sheet? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody.
Waste of time. Stuart, this table's cheating.
Why?
I have no idea. We paid him off.
Okay. Have you got your team answer?
Yes.
Everybody? Anybody hasn't? Right. The answer is 2010. Okay. Now you're keeping your scores. Anybody got 15? Oh dear, oh dear. Okay.
Using your 2 men to buy old wine.
We now go on to question 4, please, Patrick. Now, where does this wine come from? You know it's in New Zealand. You know that it's Chardonnay. You know that it's 10 years old. Does it come from Central Otago, Marlborough, Hawke's Bay or Gisborne? Very big range. All right? It is actually, and when you know the answer, you'll be able to work it out. It is actually quite difficult to work out in a wine tasting the answers often, but once you know the answer, you say, oh yes, of course. So I know the answer, so I can off yes, of course. But it's your job to sort it out. Now this is very important. Our past district governor, all on his own, on the corner table, has only managed to drink 6 of his samplers. So there's 2 spare ones over here if anybody wants one. And I take it that you ladies have drunk all of yours. Okay, are you ready for the answer? Okay, the answer, of course, is Central Otago. Did anybody get it right? Well, I thought our Frenchman might get that right. It is a very traditional area. Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grow well in the same climate. Well, you may take the cover now off the bottle of wine and check that I got all the answers. Well, according to the label, I did anyway. Who put the label on?
What nondescript label is it?
That you've got one up there. You got one? You got a bottle, Grant? Oh, where's the other one? Oh! Okay.
Even drinking it all didn't help.
All right, folks. Anybody get 20? Oh well, there's no prize. You were going to have the one that was left over, but I think Peter's drunk all that.
Our table got 9, and Lance and I have both agreed that we want neither of each other on our teams. Okay.
Can we just find out who got the highest?
Okay.
Anybody get 15? Any advance on 12? 9. Anybody get 9? 10. Somebody got 10? Very good. Okay. Well, you're halfway there. A little bit more practice and you'll get it right.
I think Kerry's table won one year too, didn't you, Kerry? Yeah. So. Oh, when you're the chair, is that what happens? Oh. Okay. So everybody, you can see how much fun wine options can be. You don't have to have Rotary members on your table. You can bring your neighbours, your friends, your work colleagues, anybody that knows their wine or would just enjoy a fun night out. It's basically a fun night out based around a quiz. So enrol, come along, have a good time. And just before we break for the break, I just have to confirm that Stuart did take 12 minutes for his 5 minutes, so that was good. So we're breaking. I'll ring the bell when we come back for strategy. Thank you.